If you've ever struggled with gripping large size knotless braids, let's fix that. Today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about large size knotless braids, from the gripping to the feeding to the correct hand placement, so that your braids stay flat, it stays secured, and it doesn't slip out when you braid. Let's get started. So when creating my large knotless braids, the first thing I like to do is to add my braiding gel to the section that I'm working on. The reason why I add a little bit of braiding gel is to make sure that I mold properly and the braid stays in the middle of the section that I'm working on. You can use the edge of your comb, the back of your comb, to mold the 4 sections. Make sure that the braid is in the middle of the section that you're about to braid. You don't want it to fall to the right, to the left, or to the bottom or to the top. That would not look nice when you finish doing the knotless braids. The next thing you want to do is to separate your sections. So something to note here is that for large knotless braids, I don't just create my sections in a straight line. I don't create my 3 sections in a straight line. The reason being that I want my large knotless braids to lay flat when I'm done braiding. So in my experience, if you create your sections in a straight vertical line like this, the root will be bulky, it won't lay flat when you're done braiding. For it to lay flat, you need to create a V part on the section that you're working on. So this one on the top becomes my middle section, and then I have my right side, and then I have my left side. So after I create my 3 strands, the next thing I like to do is to hold. The most important finger when you're doing knotless braid is your index finger and your thumb. These fingers are very important when you're doing knotless braid because it helps you to grip the hair and place your hand in a proper position to braid so that the braid stays flat and the root of the braid doesn't slip out when you're done. So you take your left index finger and your thumb and hold the left side. You take your right index finger and your thumb and you hold the right side. Now you have your middle section in the middle. The next thing you want to do is you want to cross the middle strand to the left. So now to do that, I like to transition the left piece into my ring finger and my index finger. The reason why I transition so that I can free up my index finger and my thumb to grab the middle strand. So once you do that, the next thing you want to do is grab the middle strand with the free index finger and thumb and then turn it to the left. So make sure you hold firm and then turn to the left. So the idea of the crossing is the middle strand goes to the left strand goes to the right, and the right strand becomes the new middle. When you transition your braid strand on your left to your ring finger and your middle finger, then you can grab the middle strand and literally cross the middle strand to the left. Then on the right side, you want to do the same thing. You want to transition the hair on the right side to your middle finger and your ring finger of your right side so that you can free up your index finger and your thumb to grab the left strand. So now you grab the left strand like so. So your middle strand goes to the left strand goes to the right, and the right strand becomes your new middle. So this is how it should look after you braid once. So for my knotless braids feeding, I like to feed in 5 pieces of hair. So we will be feeding in the 5 pieces of hair we separated from our part 7 of this knotless braid series. So if you've not watched the part 7 and part 8 of this series, please go watch it before you come back to this one. On the part 7, I walked you through how to get the 5 pieces of hair we're going to feed in on this video. And on the part 8, I showed you how to part for large knotless. So if you're interested in those videos, go watch it so that you can understand how we got these pieces of hair we feeding in here. So remember from the part 7 of this video, I told you I like to feed in the smallest piece first. So this is our smallest piece from that video. We are going to feed in the first smallest piece on the root after we braid once. So I feed in the first strand between my index finger and thumb, and then I braid once. And then I add my second smallest piece between my index finger and thumb. This strand is a little bit bigger than the first strand. I feed it between the index finger and thumb, and I braid once again. So when I'm feeding in the root, I hold it like I'm holding for a cornrow style, just to make sure I have that firm grip on the base. And then after I feed in twice, I transition my hand like I'm doing a regular single braid. So transitioning my hand will help me to feed in the remaining 3 pieces that I need to feed in, and also tuck the natural hair underneath the extension while I feed in, after I feed in the first 2 small pieces. The next thing I like to do after I have transitioned my hand is to feed in the remaining pieces of braids. But this time I'm no longer feeding in between the index finger and the thumb, because I transition my hand. So my feeding will now be between the index finger and my middle finger, because I use my index finger and my middle finger to hold the strand firm while I braid, and to also make sure that I am hiding the natural hair. So the idea here is, once I transition my hand to like I'm doing singles and I'm feeding in the rest strands, I'm now feeding in between my ring finger and my index finger, because that helps me to tuck the natural hair under the braids. So this is what gives your braids a very neat finish, especially if you are braiding with a different color of extension from the natural hair. You need to make sure that you tuck in the natural hair underneath the extension. You need to hide the natural hair underneath the extension so that it looks nice, it looks neat and very professional. So I'm going to continue like so. After feeding in my 3rd piece, I fed in my 4th piece, and I fed in my 5th piece, and I continued braiding until I got to the end. So as you're braiding, you'll notice that you are starting to get that tapered look at the end. So when I get to the end of the braids, I like to transition into a twist. So I generally like to end my braids with a twist. The reason being that it gives it a nice tapered look at the end. So I'll take the 2 small pieces into one, and then I twirl and twist and twirl and twist. So if you've ever done twist and the twist is not really twisting properly, it's probably because you're not twirling before you twist. So I twirl, twist, I twirl, twist, just to seal the tips of my braid. And then when I put the braids in hot water, it looks really nice and it just looks tapered from the root to the tip. And there you have it, your full guide to everything you need to know about braiding large size knotless braids. I taught you how to braid, how to feed in, and the hand placement to get the perfect flat knotless braids that you may have been struggling with. The secret to all of this is you need to practice, make mistakes, and learn from your mistakes. If this video helped you in any way, please give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share the video with a friend. You may have a friend who is trying to create large size knotless. You can share this video with them, and don't forget to check out the rest of our knotless braid series on our channel. We've covered the small, medium, and now this is the large. We covered everything you need to know step by step. The next video on this series is quantity of hair you need for jumbo size knotless. So if you are excited about that video, turn on your post notification bell so you don't miss a thing when we actually post this video. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.